If you saw your reflection in the mirror, not alive but dead, would you accept it as reality or madness? Today's story is about a mirror that is not connected to the world, but to death. The story begins a girl named Alyssa Black rents a new apartment in an old deserted building in the suburbs of Chicago. She is a 28-year-old graphic designer who has recently gone through the trauma of a divorce. Loneliness has become her companion in life, and she is now looking for a new beginning. When she first entered the apartment, there was a strange feeling, as if the air had stopped, as if the walls had stopped breathing. In the middle of the room, right next to the front door, there was a large old mirror. This mirror was not like ordinary glass. Its frame was like gold, but rusty, and the glass was slightly tarnished, as if time had worn it out. "Why is it here?" Alyssa asked the owner of the building, and he laughed. "It has always been here. If we take it out, it will come back on its own." Hearing this, a cold wave ran through Alyssa's body, but she laughed as if it was a joke. The first night, when she was changing clothes, she looked at her reflection carefully, but the image was a bit strange. Alyssa was combing her hair, but her reflection in the mirror was not moving. He stood still, his eyes open, his tongue hanging out, as if someone had strangled at him. Alyssa shivered. She looked back and saw that there was no one in the room. It was just exhaustion. She consoled herself, saying that she was sleep-deprived, and fell asleep quickly. But at 3 a.m., she suddenly opened her eyes. All the lights in the room were off, but the mirror was shining, and she was lying dead in the mirror. Her face was blue, her eyes were open, and blood was flowing from her nose. Alyssa screamed. She immediately turned on the light. The mirror returned to normal. The reflection was normal, but the fear remained. What was it? Alyssa put a sheet over the mirror, but her heart was beating fast. Was it a dream, or was a mirror showing something else? The next morning, there was no sign of sleep on Alyssa's face. She kept thinking about the mirror. How could this be possible? Was what I saw true? She went to the mirror once again and looked at herself. Everything seemed normal, but there was a different shine in her eyes, as if the reflection was hiding something else behind her eye. Alyssa decided to put the mirror in another room. She put on gloves, covered the mirror with a cloth, and moved it to the storeroom. But as soon as she returned to the room, the mirror was back in its place. "No, this is my illusion. Maybe I'm worried." She controlled herself and started ignoring the mirror. But night came again. At 3 a.m., a slight rustling was heard in the room. Alyssa opened her eyes and saw that the mirror was once again sparkling with light. The sheet had automatically slid back, and this time, in the mirror, she herself was lying on the floor, a wound on the back of her neck, a room full of blood, and a note in her hand. She was exhausted. Alyssa's scream choked in her throat. She hadn't even moved from her place, but the mirror was telling another story. The next morning, she spoke to the neighbor, Margaret, who had lived in the building for 20 years. That mirror, Margaret's face took on a serious expression. Many years ago, there was a girl, Laura. She lived in the same apartment. She also said every day that the mirror showed her body. Then what happened? Alyssa's breathing began to accelerate. One day, she really died, just like she said. And since then, anyone who comes to live here sees themselves dead in the mirror. Alyssa looked at Margaret in surprise, and no one did anything. They tried to break the mirror to sell it, but it keeps coming back. This mirror doesn't just show a reflection, it shows the end. Alyssa felt as if the ground was slipping from under her feet. That night, Alyssa decided to ignore the mirror. But when she laid down on the bed and closed her eyes, she felt as if someone was breathing near her face. She opened her eyes. There was nothing, but the mirror was open, and this time it wasn't just Alyssa in it. There was also a dark shadow behind her, very close. In the blurred but clear mirror, Alyssa was screaming, but her voice was actually muted. "What does she want from me?" she said in a trembling voice. The next morning, she decided to record the mirror on camera. At 2:55 a.m., she turned on the camera and lay down on the bed herself. When she checked the video in the morning, her body appeared to be sleeping, but the same shadow in the mirror slowly approached the bed, leaned over, and whispered something in her ear. Then suddenly, Alyssa's eyes opened in the mirror, and she looked straight at the camera. But the real Alyssa was sleeping. Now, the mirror was not only killing, but also stealing her personality. Was the mirror changing reality? The only question echoing in Alyssa's mind was, am I the one, or have I become the one in the mirror now? For Alyssa, day and night had become the same. Every mirror, every glass, even the surface of the water had become a symbol of fear for her. She was beginning to fear her reflection. She was convinced that her reflection was not just her image, but an entity that wanted something more. Perhaps her life one day, she turned to the old library. An old librarian named Edgar brought her a shabby book called Objects of the Beyond, Mirrors That Breathe. Alyssa opened the book and glanced at a chapter. Some mirrors tear apart the boundaries of time and reality and connect to a world where there is no difference between life and death. The reflection seen in them actually comes from the world of shadows, and it tries to take your place. Alyssa's hand began to tremble. It was written on the next page that when the mirror looks into your eyes and smiles, understand that your time is up. It will pull you in and come out on its own. Alyssa remembered the moment when her reflection in the mirror smiled. Exactly 3 nights ago. Have I already gone in? She felt as if her mind was about to explode. That night she turned on the camera again and sat in front of the mirror. Who are you? She screamed. Suddenly, the surface of the mirror began to wave slightly like water, and the mirror slowly raised its head and looked into your eyes and smiled. I am you, but the better mirror said without moving its lips. The voice echoed directly in Alyssa's mind. Why do you want to take me out? Because you're weak, and I have been waiting for you to live forever. At that moment, a black hand emerged from the mirror, as if made of fog, and moved towards Alyssa's face. She stepped back, but her body froze as if someone else had taken control of her. And then she saw herself in the mirror. The real Alyssa was trapped inside the mirror, and her reflection stood outside, alive, smiling. No, let me out, she screamed, but her voice was muffled behind the glass. The mirror saw her and gently placed a finger on her lips. Now you are just a mirror. Now Alyssa's body was in the world, but her soul was trapped inside the mirror. She looked around. Inside the mirror was a different world, black, empty, and devoid of sound. Far away, she saw 9 other shadows, the same 9 people Margaret had mentioned, all trapped in their own death scenes. Some with a rope around their necks, some with a knife in their stomachs, and some with a gun to their heads. All of them had become mirrors. Alyssa's soul asked herself. One shadow approached her. It was Laura, who had been swallowed by the mirror first. Don't look outside. He won't let you go back. Laura's voice was broken, like broken glass. Is there a way? Alyssa asked. Just one. If your own reflection looks into the mirror, you can pull it back in. But it's dangerous. He knows. What do you want? Now, Alyssa's mission was to bring her reflection back to the mirror so that she could take back its place. But would she succeed, or would she remain a mirror? Alyssa is now imprisoned in the mirror world. In front, across a thick, blurry curtain, the reflection that now carries her body around the world is laughing, spinning, living. Alyssa was deeply helpless, but she did not remain silent. She knew that if the reflection could be brought back to the mirror, then maybe she could return. Laura, who had been imprisoned for years, guided her. It only takes a moment. When she looks into the mirror and you are ready, you can pull her in. But if you hesitate, you will stay here forever. Alyssa's courage awakened. She focused on the scene outside the mirror. The reflection had now taken her place. Alyssa's face, voice, everything was the same. But the reflection was something different. He was silent, talking strangely to his cold friends, looking in an inhuman way as if he was just acting. Alyssa's close friend Nina began to doubt. Alyssa, are you okay? You don't see life in your eyes, Nina asked one day. The mirror only smiled slightly and said, life is a lie. Nina was worried. The next day, Nina came to Alyssa's apartment and stood by the old mirror. Alyssa, your eyes look strange in that glass. Alyssa, who was watching everything from the inside, screamed with all her might, Nina, I'm inside. It's not me outside, but Nina just kept looking at the mirror suddenly. The reflection also came closer to her. This mirror, you like, Nina? Nodded, and bent down and started looking at the mirror closely. This was the moment that Alyssa had been waiting for. The reflection, standing behind Nina, started looking at its own reflection. This was all the moment she needed. Alyssa hit the inside of the mirror with all her strength, and suddenly the reflection's eyes burst as if something had entered. The reflection screamed loudly and backed away. But it was too late. Alyssa had caught the light inside her, and in an instant, the change had happened. Alyssa's consciousness returned to her body, and the reflection was now inside the mirror. Trapped with anger and screams, Alyssa's body was shaken. Her breathing was irregular. Nina was panicking and holding her. You are fine, you just changed. Alyssa opened her eyes. Now it was the same old Alyssa, warm breathing, the real me. I am back, she barely said, but the happiness did not last. The mirror in which the reflection was now trapped, suddenly it started shaking. The shadows inside started making noises, and then a crack appeared. Not on the mirror, he wants to come back. Alyssa said Nina immediately took a blanket and covered the mirror. We have to end it forever. Alyssa took out a metal hammer and hit the mirror with all her strength. The first blow, the mirror cracked slightly. The second blow, the reflection screamed. Black fog came out from inside. The third blow, the mirror shattered, and with it the air in the room changed, as if a weight had been lifted. Alyssa took a deep breath and hugged Nina. "It's all over?" Nina asked. Alyssa said softly, "Maybe." Alyssa had broken the mirror. Every piece was scattered on the ground floor, and the mirror trapped inside had gone silent with a final scream. Peace fell over the room. Nina patted Alyssa. "Now it's all over. You're back, and that mirror's dead." Eliza nodded slowly, but there was a strange emptiness in her heart, as if something still remained. She put the pieces of the mirror in a bag and went with Nina to a deserted place outside the city and buried them. Then they both returned, left the flat, and took a new apartment. Everything was fine for a few days. Alyssa started a new job. Her sleep was restored, and the joy of life slowly began to return. But one night, when she was brushing her teeth in the bathroom of the new room, she felt something strange in the mirror. There was the sound of water flowing, but the tap in the mirror was turned off. She looked back in panic. The tap was turned off, but water was flowing in the mirror. The brush fell from Alyssa's hand. No, it was my illusion. That mirror was broken. But the next day, Nina said something strange. "You were laughing while you were sleeping, just like your reflection did." Alyssa rolled her eyes. "I don't know. Maybe she was dreaming." But the truth was that Alyssa had become something else at night. Every night, at 3 o'clock, she would automatically get out of bed, stand in front of the mirror, and see her reflection smiling. But she no longer recognized herself. One day, she saw scratches on her face. Did she do it in her sleep? Or did the mirror not give any explanation? Nina began to have doubts. One night, she secretly turned on the camera and recorded Alyssa's nighttime activity. The next morning, when the video was viewed, Nina's hair stood on end. Alyssa got out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, went to the mirror and said softly, "Now it's my turn to come out." Then she put her finger in her own eyes and leaned towards the mirror. Nina turned off the camera and immediately woke Alyssa up. You have become something else. It's not you." Alyssa looked at her with empty eyes. He looked at Nina from the mirror. There was the same smile on his face as the mirror. "I am the one you left inside." Nina's face turned pale. "No, you are Alyssa. You are back," Alyssa said softly. "I was back, but my shadow is free now, and he is hidden in every mirror. Every mirror is just looking for an opportunity." The next day, Nina disappeared. The police did not find a trace of her. Alyssa, or perhaps the mirror that was now in her body, continued to live a completely normal life. But in every house, everywhere she went, the mirrors would blur for a few moments, and another Eliza would appear in it. A few weeks later, a new tenant entered the old craft house. When he opened the door to the room, there was an old mirror inside, completely intact. He smiled and said, "Well, at least you will see the whole mirror while changing clothes." He laughed, and he looked in the mirror. In the mirror, his reflection was lying dead. There were rope marks on his neck, and his eyes were open. His breathing stopped, and there was a black. The shadow was slowly smiling.